How is it going, everybody? This is Sean Barnes. I want to welcome you to episode 91 of The Way of the Wolf. On the show today, I'm going to be talking about failure. This is something that we don't really talk about a whole lot. Most people want to project this life of success and all of these amazing things that they have accomplished. The reality is, failure is a part of life. It is a big part of life. Today, I'm going to focus in on the failures that I personally have experienced in business, and more specifically on the entrepreneurship side of things. For all of you listening, know that we now have video showing up on audio podcast platforms. So Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of that stuff are now showing video. So I'm really excited about it. And that works well for this episode because I'm going to be showing something that's very special to me as I talk through this story. After I finished college, I had a few attempts at starting my own businesses. One in particular was an automotive performance company focused on racing cars. I was big into drag racing, real big into the F-body scene, formulas, Trans Ams, Camaros, all of that fun stuff. Also, I did have a Mustang. I don't like to share that with everybody, but I did have one at one point. That was actually a pretty fun car. It was a black 1990 GT with a carbureted 306 in it. Had a lot of fun with that. So I had this grand idea that I was going to start an automotive performance shop because that is how I identified. I was the car racing guy. The car guy. Went to all the meets, all the shows, all the races. It was just such a huge part of my life, and I thought, man, let's make a career out of that. So I started Bad Habit Motorsports. And I say started because it didn't really get that far into the journey, and I'm going to talk through why. But about a year ago, was contacted by a good friend of mine, Dave Vassar. He is the CEO over at the Nitrous Outlet, and he sent me a post to somebody that was selling a nitrous plate. And it wasn't just any nitrous plate. It was a plate that I had designed for my 2002 Ford Lightning pickup. And if y'all are just listening, you can probably hear me opening up this packaging. So I contacted the gentleman and said, hey, I would love to buy this plate from you. He had actually just bought it for his Mustang, oddly enough. And we went back and forth and didn't end up coming to any sort of agreement because he wanted to use it for his Mustang. But we kept in touch. And he recently, I think he sold his Mustang, and he bought a C5 Z06 and reached out to me and said, hey, do you still want to buy this plate? And my response was, hell yes, I did. So this is me opening this plate. And for those of you that are not familiar with racing or nitrous or how it's used in cars, there's a number of different ways to inject nitrous into the engine. This particular plate fit between the throttle body and upper plenum of Ford Lightning that I had. Now I'm going to show this to the camera. This looks like just a simple little oval ring made out of aluminum. And I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but here in the top of the plate, I actually had Bad Habit Motorsports engraved into the plate. I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not. We'll see if I can get that. On the back side, you can see these little nozzles in here. This is where the nitrous and the fuel come into the plate, and then they spray into the plenum behind the throttle body. I designed and built this plate in 2002 or 3 probably 2003 time frame. This is sentimental for me. I don't have a car that this will fit on, and I likely will never have another car that this will fit on. But I paid more money than I want to admit for this nitrous plate because of what it means to me. I think it's important for us to recognize that in life and business, there are going to be times when you fail. And I say fail because for all of you listening and all of you that know me, you probably had no clue that I did any of this stuff. Because I don't anymore. It's not part of who I am. It is something that I still enjoy. But at the end of the day, Bad Habit Motorsports no longer exists. And that's okay. Because I learned something from that experience. I learned that I actually had pretty decent marketing. All of my friends and quite a few people that I knew had Bad Habit Motorsports stickers on their car. Our user handles on online communities were Bad Habit Bird and Bad Habit Z, and actually had pretty darn good branding, and everybody liked it. The problem was I didn't have any revenue. Didn't make any money, or very, very, very little money. So that business never took off. I then transitioned into the next thing that I was passionate about, which was technology. And at the time, I was really good at fixing computers and working on computers. So that's all I knew. And I thought, hey, I can make a business focused on fixing computers. And I called that business MaxNet Consulting. Max, because Maximus was the name of my formula, because yes, I named my cars back then. And net and consulting all just kind of fell in line with technology and the internet and all of that stuff. So it seemed to fit well. And I actually made some decent money fixing computers doing that. What I didn't do well is any sort of marketing or branding for the company. So that never really took off. So I learned something from that experience too. After those few failures, I decided, hey, I'm just going to get a job and start focusing on career progression and doing everything I can to climb that corporate ladder. But I still always had this yearning to have my own business and to lead my own team. So as my career progressed over the years, I got into oil and gas, which is very attractive from a compensation perspective. Did fairly well for myself in technology, and as most of you know, started leading human resources and safety and transportation and these other areas. And I've learned a tremendous amount about all of those things in that time. I will also, let me backtrack just a little bit to 2015 when the price of oil fell off a cliff and we went through another downturn. While I did stay with the current employer that I'm at now, I started dabbling in doing a little bit of contract work and consulting, really just for fear that I was going to lose my job and I needed to have something to fall back on. That didn't end up taking off either, just because I was basically a subcontractor and doing little bits of work here and there. So I didn't have any sort of brand of my own to identify with. These are all examples of failures in my entrepreneurship journey. I keep getting sucked back into oil and gas. It's what I know, it's what I'm good at. And I've been learning a tremendous amount about business, about marketing, about relationships and networking. Now, the only reason I have this plate today is because of networking. Because of Dave reaching out to me and knowing that I had started Bad Habit Motorsports and knowing that I had developed and built this nitrous plate. I think that speaks to the power of networking, which I touch on occasionally here on the show. But coming back around to failures, all of these failures in business shaped who I am. And while it was demoralizing and depressing at that time, and I felt like a failure of why can't I start this business, I quite frankly didn't stick it out. I didn't spend enough time putting in the work, putting in the effort to build those businesses. And that's okay. As I just cited, I learned from those mistakes. I learned from those failures. And that's one of the key takeaways that I think is the most important, is that you're going to fail in business, in life, in relationships. But it's only a failure if you don't learn from it. So focus on learning. I think there's three main things that I want to cover. And that is, whatever you do in life or in business, have a plan. Make sure that you're not just jumping into something, it's like a random hobby or something that you think might be cool or fun. While, yes, it is good to do those things to find your purpose or find additional hobbies or things that you enjoy. If you are pursuing something big in your life, identify what that is and have a plan. You also need to be able to adapt, because the plan does not always go as planned, much like my stories that I just shared with you. The next thing that I want to touch on is networking. Like I mentioned with Dave here in this plate, and all of the people that I have met with over the years, in recent years specifically because I've been such an introvert for the majority of my life and career, but over the past 4 to 5 years, I've started coming out of my shell and networking with more and more people. And I've learned so much. I've learned about business. I've learned about financial statements. I've learned how to lead teams and lead people. I've learned more about technology. I've learned about all of these things because I spent time meeting new people and learning from them. Once you come to realize how much knowledge you can gain from meeting with new people and learning what they have gone through, what their experiences are, and learning how to overcome challenges, you really start to grow. And the last thing that I want to touch on is patience. In this world of instant gratification, more and more people have a desire to get what they want immediately. And if you think about technology, it has conditioned us to go online, order some supplements, and they just show up at your door the next day. You no longer have to wait for a couple of days or a week for something to ship to you. Yes, sometimes that will happen. I did order some new shoes and had to wait 2 weeks for them, but it annoyed the heck out of me. So that was obnoxious. But it just speaks to the fact that we're all conditioned for instant gratification. In life and business, that's not reality. Things take time. It takes time for you to grow. It takes time for you to build your business. It takes time to climb a corporate ladder. All of these things take time. So focus on becoming patient and realize everything unfolds exactly as it should. And sometimes things take longer than you'd like for them to. And that's okay. Planning, networking, and patience. 3 big things that I want all of you to focus on when you consider what is the direction of your life. Where are you going? What are you building? And then realizing failure is a part of life, and that's a good thing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is all I have for you today. This plate is, I've had all sorts of emotional responses, especially opening up and looking at it, the flood of memories. I would encourage you Find some sort of memento from those failures in your life and put it on display. I'm going to put a shadow box together and mount this thing on my wall to remind me of the failures in my life and remind me how important it is to learn from them. That is all I have for you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, and y'all have a good one.